All right, action. This is where it began every night.
That's
right. I mean, there was a stage in there and tables for making up zombies. This is where George and you guys would come in and prep and get the camera going, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Camera gear and everything.
And one night it snowed so bad we were going to leave.
We lost your car.
The snow was up to our knees. So Jeannie Jeffries, who plays the blonde zombie, well, she was my assistant, but also my girlfriend at the time. We didn't want to go home. So we went into the closet and slept in the closet. Now, of course, this is early morning, so we didn't wake up till mid-afternoon, and we left the closet hand in hand, and there was a board of trustees meeting going on. And we heard about it that night from Richard and
Yeah,
George.
I'm sure. Did they ask to join in?
No.
So this is the side entrance to the mall. Right now it's roped off. We had high winds last night. I guess something happened here with the awning or whatever. Oh, this might be a full hole into the ground. So if you lose me, I'll see you later.
But that was just part of the parking lot.
Right.
That wall and those structures weren't there back when
Yeah, I don't know if you got any establishing shots of the mall yet, but unfortunately it's become kind of a walled fortress. It once, as you can remember in the film, had a beautiful vista. If you looked at the establishing shots in Dawn, it's a beautiful temple up on the hill. It was gorgeous once upon a time. It was an island unto itself, like I say.
What is that place? It's
Right out the door?
No, the mall. I'm trying to think of the line from Dawn.
the hell is it?
Looks like a shopping center, one of those big indoor malls.
What's one of those new malls?
It's one of those new malls.
Because malls weren't rampant back then.
One of the first indoor shopping malls.
Yeah, we had quite a few here in Pittsburgh, oddly enough, because when we first scouted malls, we went out to,
North for sale?
there was one there, we went out to Westmoreland Mall to look at. It was very, very small at the time. It had no big, anchored stores, as they call them. So we looked around and we finally found this one. We should take a quick peek in here also, because this is
where they built the
a
mall.
hallway that was used quite often.
This is where David Emge kind of brushes through the wall and then leads the zombies to the room, but the room was actually at Latent Image
Well, it was
downtown.
down the street.
Actually,
from
next
right
door,
in-
right next door,
Down
yeah.
the street, just a few doors down.
There was a photo machine down here where you go in, you take a strip of pictures,
Right, yeah.
We would make up the zombies and they would go take their pictures.
their own pictures,
A strip of but then they would take the samples off of it and put their pictures in. So the next day, customers coming to the mall would see these hideous photos as samples on the photo booth.
This machine's terrible.
This makes you look horrible. And right over there is where I was shot and fell off the balcony into the fountain. Taso and I were in college together, and when it was, I don't know who came up with it, maybe I did, I probably wanted a glorious death. So we actually went to our school gym, and we practiced on this long ladder, diving into this foam pad until it was way taller than this. So if I could do that, it was nothing to leap over here into a bunch of cardboard boxes and mattresses, except when we first did it, I missed. Remember,
You
my
certainly
head
missed.
hit
You went
Yes.
out too
feet.
far and your heels
My
smashed.
feet hit the floor
Right.
and I couldn't walk. For 2 weeks, I was doing the effects in a golf cart and a wheelchair. And then a couple of weeks later, we redid it, but with more cardboard boxes and more mattresses.
More cars.
Do you have footage of that, by the way?
Some of the best standpoints for me in terms of these kinds of shots is George was a great whisperer. And I probably had some of the best information because he would whisper in my ear constantly information about the shot, what was going on in the scene that he couldn't express to the world. And he used to say to me things like, do those cats know what they're doing?
Us?
Yeah. I said, I think so, George.
You guys had
Or he would say, man, you're not going to be here holding the camera while this dude falls, right? I said, well, why not? Yeah, why not? He goes, nay, man.
Well, they didn't hire any stunt guys, and we would say, we can do that. I can get hit by a truck. I can swing a rope from, try it today.
Try it today, right?
No, it turned out okay, thank goodness. But it was a big mistake because we couldn't attach that. First of all, when you swing, by the time you reach the bottom of the pendulum, it's like, I don't know, 5 Gs or something. It's amazing just the small amount will do. But there was nowhere up to attach the rope.
Exactly.
So the rope that I swung with, I attached here. So I started like that. And of course, I went right up under here and smashed into the bottom of the
This is
right.
without
So you
rehearsing,
you
of
have to
course.
propel yourself.
This is
in
just
essence.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
action,
Yeah.
just do it. You know, there was no rehearsing.
And I was in a harness, thank goodness. So there's no way to hold on, especially with one hand and a sledgehammer.
Oh, I didn't know
So we
about
did that.
harness.
Remember, we did it with when we did the shot of me swinging and hitting the zombie. I had just jumped off a small ladder. Right, but the actual swing from here was very aggressive.
Yeah. He's the woman who's being
right.
dragged,
The Volkswagen.
who
Volkswagen.
they shoot in the eye. So he's actually holding onto the car, and he's got his hands on a blood
She
pump.
had one arm, I think.
She did. Because
She had a prosthetic
handicap,
arm.
yeah.
So I had to hide an arm and hold on with one hand.
Yeah,
Oh
but
no, yeah, I
you
was
were
using the.
but he was pumping. After he, when they got shot, he pumped the blood so it came out of his eye, and then let go of the car.
Right. And didn't the car hit one of the marble columns?
Always.
There
Oh,
was
no,
a big.
there was a bar that stayed open till 2 in the morning, the Brown Derby. So zombies in makeup would go in the bar and get drunk. And the only there's motorcycles driving through here. The only damage that occurred in the mall was drunken zombies driving a golf cart into one of those marble pillars. It was like $7,000 worth of damage.
Because we had to shoot that way, and the art department had to make a false facade and match the pattern. Because when we were shooting at Penny's this way, we would see that column. So they had to fix that. It was up there, yeah.
But we destroyed the Volkswagen. The Scirocco was destroyed. I was explaining the other day how it was so unpretentious back when we were making films at that era that people gave you everything.
We had keys to all the stores.
Keys to the kingdom.
We had I remember a ring of keys to all the stores. Well,
It
we
was
got to shoot
incredible.
in there tonight, okay.
Now don't steal anything, okay?
Yeah, when the bike gang came, you know. Gary Zeller was the weapons handler, and he did the squibs. In fact, it was the end of this hallway where they poured the fake glass on the floor to raise it up and make it a storefront that I would drive the motorcycle through. The glass was this thick.
Yeah.
George
They were like
Romero.
PPG glass blocks.
All said and done.
It was
Well, I remember George kept a piece of it in his office and say, "Hey, look at this breakaway glass," and he'd smash it on the desk, and it wouldn't. But I had to drive a motorcycle through it. Luckily, I was on a motorcycle; it wouldn't have broken, you know. But they fired Gary Zeller because on press night, he was running up and down the hallway in his underwear, firing a machine gun. He was fired that night. So I took over doing the squibs. But they weren't professional. I had no explosives license. We were making them out of rocket igniters and plastic straws. You know, that's how David Emge's had. That was homemade by me. Hopefully we'll make it to the food court. That was the ice skating rink. And there was a scene with mannequins where Flyboy and
They're
Gavin
practicing.
were practicing. But that's me and Tasso shooting real rounds from real weapons at these mannequins to make holes appear.
There's no other way.
It's not the first time we used real guns. When at the beginning of the movie, when
used a
Joe
shotgun.
Jim
Baffico.
Baffico blows the zombie's head off.
That's a lie.
That was me with a real shotgun blowing the head off because Gary Zeller tried to blow it up from within, and it went bloop. And it didn't explode. I said, "Well, give me that goddamn shotgun." And it just blew it off with the shotgun.
So the clock is gone, right?
The clock is long gone.
It's down there. Right?
Long gone.
You know, the one thing I should say that there were some stores that didn't want to be involved in that.
There were a number of commercial vendors who didn't want us even exhibiting their logo. We had to either mask or totally avoid shooting in certain directions, as Tom said.
Take him down the escalator. Tasso and I, between takes, would ride these rails up like we're on a surfboard. Security made us stop doing that.
There was an escalator in the J.C. Penney facility.
The Scott slides down. And he's the reason those knobs are now on escalators.
Because all the
So
kids
you
are-
can't slide down.
But Scott was inspired by Tasso and Tom
doing this on a daily basis. Rather than taking the stairway, they just flew down.
And this is where the bikers' entrance was. Right. Didn't that come up or something? Wasn't that a
Yeah, you're right. There was a gigantic
Door.
garage door that would come.
Yeah, they could actually open it up for us.
It does. It slides sideways.
But I think that's the very windows that we blew out at some point.
Yeah, well, there was an explosion out there.
Was that a Gary Zeller again?
Gary Zeller again was supposed to have a small explosion out here. And what happened, now, the producer's wife, Catherine Rubinstein, was sitting on the floor here, taking pictures of what was going on with the bikers and
The
stuff like
zombies,
that.
etc. Yeah.
And she was going to take a picture of the explosion. The explosion was so powerful, it blew out these windows, and all this glass came pouring on Catherine, and not a drop hit her. It was almost a perfect circle around her, as if she had an aura that kept, like a shield, that kept the glass from hitting her. We made a huge deal of it that night because we couldn't believe that the glass fell around her.
Again, George whispering in my ear, I remember him saying to me, "Someone's got to be dead, man. Someone's got to be dead." And it felt that way after the explosion. And then the second impact was the glass breaking. We thought, oh.
Come on, man, let's get the hell out of here.
You know, we talked about guns being fired and so forth. Well, every shot that was ever fired toward camera, I simply sat there and took the abuse, be it a blank.
Galen shot you in the leg.
Many times, yes.
Your hand got it a couple times.
The roof thing, that when Galen's firing from the roof, Mike is right there, and she shoots him right in the leg.
Well, this side of the head was constantly being abused. There was the day that, speaking of Gary Zeller, this is Gary Zeller's film. We had a gun wrangler, Clayton Hill, who would prepare the blanks and so forth. And there was a huge ammo box, and he would load things up for the actors and hand the rifles or the handguns. Well, the one day he's loading up, and he said, "Dear God, Mike, there's a live round in here."
Mixed in with the blanks.
Mixed in with the blanks. And I thought, dear God, thank goodness we have. Clayton.
So Galen could have shot you in the head.
Yep. This is a spot too where we did the now famous Romero hand shot, firing up above, which was just a kind of crop shot that you may have seen the still. There's Tom Dubensky and I and George. And George actually, it's his hand that's firing the weapon.
So the fountain was here. Yes. So I came off into cardboard boxes. Then I came down and stood on the fountain and did a front flip into it. And he just cut.
Yeah, I mean, once we prepped an area with lighting and so forth, we just shot the hell out of it, you know.
And this is where Ken throws the zombie over the railing, which was John Amplis. John Amplis for real, but Boris the dummy, dressed like John, yeah, right there.
Over here was the elevator, the escalator that the zombies stupidly tried to climb.
This was J.C. Penney's.
Lower level.
Lower and upper.
Thankfully, J.C. Penney's, gave us the ability to shoot outside their stores. They had no problems with seeing their logo, their name throughout the film. We shot interiors inside Penney's. We shot both upstairs, downstairs, in the elevator at Penney's. Had we not had their cooperation, I dare say we wouldn't have had a motion picture of the scope that we finally made. Because we needed store interiors, and that was the most massive interior that we had, and they were fully cooperative. We had a manager who stayed with us throughout the night.
So when they were gathering props, I mean, they would keep track, and we said, okay, we'll pay for
But
it,
aside
and
from
then,
that, we had full reign in there.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what the hell you gonna watch on that thing?
Oh, man.
That was fake. Yeah, the TV they brought in, that was in special.
Yeah, anything we destroyed,
Anything we
pretty much, although we
the-
destroyed things inadvertently.
Those were made,
Yeah.
like the makeup thing was made special because we couldn't break anything for real. So George said, "Can we?"
But we
break
did
something?"
break
So-
things. We did break things, and we just put them back, basically. In terms of that whole cleanup, we are all called upon pretty much to do that. We had some PAs, very, very few. We had some very loyal grips that help us clean up. Even the elevator scene was somewhat contained. We could deal with that after we had shot.
There was still blood behind the paneling of the elevator when they took it apart.
Oh, there was still blood in the floor grate down here somewhere. People would call me, hey, I'm in the Monroeville Mall. I'm listening to the soundtrack. Can you tell me where to go? I said, well, look for the grate near the T-shirt kiosk because there's still dried blood in that grate.
Now, the interior of the elevator, the shaft itself, was at Fort Pitt Boulevard, in town again.
Now, if you whip around, this was the ice skating rink.
And there was a restaurant on
And
this
next
side.
to that was the Pomodoro restaurant,
Yeah, we had breakfast every morning.
where we used to have breakfast, but that's also where they had the dinner. Flyboy and Galen had their
evening
dinner.
cafe dinner.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
what's his face lit with that box?
Yes, the magic box, yeah.
Every day we had to stop shooting at 7 a.m. because the music would come on.
Well, the music
And nobody knew how to turn it off.
And we had the cardiac
Walkers
patients who
came at
walked.
7:30,
Yeah.
so at that point it was like, yeah.
A group of senior citizens decided to come in and exercise walking in the mall. And one day, hundreds of zombies were coming one way, and the senior citizens were coming, and they met. We wound up using some of the senior citizens as zombies. There were no fatalities, you know.
Part of the initial problem was the film had no rating. There was this confusion about, I wonder how violent it really is. And it theoretically got an X rating, which is nothing that really is promoted by the MPAA. It's just, if you didn't get a rating, you got an X rating. So I think the mall found the whole thing kind of distasteful, you know, and I don't think anybody in truth from the mall looked at the film, took time to examine it, and just thought it was just also nasty. Let's stay away from this. So for years, I mean, we're probably talking 10, maybe 20 years before it finally invited people in to take a look. And
Well, this is the only mall with a big portrait of George Romero. This isn't the actual scarf, but he always had his lucky scarf with him.
always, yeah, well, you can see it here, it's kind of detailed. That's the
Oh,
scarf.
yeah, yeah.
It was kind of a plaid that it was seen for years with that scarf, always around his neck.
My brother made this sculpture.
Yeah, this is Chris Stavrakis, his brother, sculpted this.
I've been sculpting busts of George's characters, little zombies, and so I thought, well, for my first life-size piece and my first bronze piece, or my first real piece of art, you know, I should do George himself, and he deserves it because he is the godfather of independent film. You know, he got us all started making movies wherever you are. You know, you can do it. So I sculpted George as he looked on press night, 1978. In the middle of winter, they were shooting here in the mall, and you know, it looks like somebody's just cracked a big joke, and he's got a big grin on his face, and that's how I remember him best.
That's with that expression, yeah. Mostly this expression. Laughing,
Smoked a lot
smiling.
of cigarettes.
And he would let you improvise as an actor and as a special effects guy.
You think you can get hit by this car? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Negative.
sure.
Okay, that'll be cool.
George, how about if we drive a screwdriver through here?
Yeah.
I've always said that he had just a wonderful style. It was kind of an anarchy on set, that if you were the lowliest grip, if you had an idea, you could present it. You didn't fear speaking to George about it. Or you can say, did you like that last take, George? I didn't think it worked. You know, and he would say, really, man?
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Never was there a time constraint. No, we don't have enough time. Oh yeah, that's on. Let's try that.
I honestly think that the film Martin and then subsequently Dawn of the Dead were probably George's best periods as a filmmaker, because he could be patient, he could take his time.
And there was no money.
There was
Limitations
no,
make you more creative.
Yeah, I mean, later in time there was the bonding company, who was the insurance company that always insures motion pictures to get done on time, on schedule, under budget.
And he had to listen to them, right?
Yeah, and they appeared suddenly, and it got worse, you know.
Yeah.
But those two early films,
he was free then to improvise, and if he be inspired by whatever was around, he would see things in the mall. Oh, let's do a thing where he's.
Yeah, I mean, no one would be surprised if you arrived on set that day and you would say casually, George, what are we shooting? He'd say, I don't know, man. Yeah. He'd start.
And there's a bunch of pies in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Everyone ready? Camera. Roll it. Sound. Roll it.
And suddenly, in the course of all this madness, and there was madness, because that night we shot, George just said, man, just keep shooting. George would spot a particular zombie that he liked and say, man, let's feature that zombie, would bring that zombie forward, you know.
They came in kind of like zombies, but very well behaved zombies. They came in, they all went to the room, the community room, and we got them in the lines and we got them all set up, and they just sort of kept that with them all night long.
And there was a lot of downtime. I mean, to their credit, we abused them to hell. But luckily they're zombies, so in a very method sense, we could just push them around and move them and say, come over here. Typically they would spend maybe 5 hours just standing about, waiting for us to engineer or to block out a scene where there's zombies either in background, foreground, moving through the shot. So to their credit, we had some amazing people.
Very nice, and they were interested in watching the film being made.
Doing the makeup, doing the stunts, and playing Blades, I would be asleep under that escalator. Wherever I could grab, I'd throw the sleeping bag down and go to sleep till somebody would knock. Hey, you have to be Blades. You have to make up this guy. You got to do a stunt. You know, so it was 3 months of Halloween. It was a celebration for us.
I was a son of a gun, wasn't I? Build me a scaffold here. I must get a shot.
They said that over the balcony, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had power, Tom. Think about it.
Yeah, you did.
I had no one to build that, but I could. Yeah. No, we did have a great construction person, Matt Clancy, who went I think went on to become a surgeon actually. But he was a graduate of CMU. But he built our sets in downtown Pittsburgh. The ductwork, he built that, and he was always around to build incredible sets. One thing he built for us that was of great necessity was the helicopter landing on the roof of the mall. There was a whole concern at the time about, can you actually land a helicopter on the roof of a mall that has a neoprene roof? Right. Is there enough substance there beneath it, you know, which worried the hell out of me too, because I had to fly in and land there. But Matt built this incredible landing pad
For the helicopter.
for the helicopter that the engineers blessed and said, yeah, that'll work. You know,
As if it belonged there.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a concern initially. We had to land, we had to do shooting up on the roof. Would the roof of the mall support a helicopter?
Speaking of that area, we did in fact shoot Galen Ross's beheaded body falling off the helicopter, because there was an alternative ending before George decided to make it a happy ending. Ken kills himself, Galen jumps up into the blades.
We shot a test. It was a test.
So actually we had the costume on it. It was Boris again.
Yeah, we were supposed to.
And we had huge wooden beams that I think you helped me with fish line holding the dummy up. And on a certain cue, we just cut the fish line. We all had scissors and cut the fish line, and that's how the body fell away from the helicopter. Yeah. But that's all that was shot of that ending. So we had Galen's head that we never used, so that became the head that we blew off at the beginning. We put an Afro wig on it and made it African American, and that's Jim Baffico. He blew off Galen's, he blew her head apart.
George at some point became very opposed to that ending. And there was excitement by the Europeans.
Yeah, the Italians, it's Star Wars had opened and they were like, oh, everybody lives. And it's like, well, maybe.
But I think even then they wanted that optional ending. They thought, you know, being the brooding
But
Europeans.
they all killed themselves.
Being brooding Europeans that they are. They wanted something. Yeah, exactly.
Dario was here one time at the mall.
He was? And he spoke in Italian. I spoke in Croatian to him. I figured, I can't speak Italian, but they're close enough that maybe he'll understand.
He watched for a while, and then he disappeared, and then later Richard came by, and then you asked him, well, what did he think? He's, 3 shots in 45 minutes. He was impressed, you know. Yeah, because in Italy, they'll spend hours just to do one
But
shot.
he was chattering away at me, and you know, something came out, he said, zombie. So I said, Uni su tamo, budošli here, you know, in Croatian. And he said, he's love, he's love.
No, let's drag him in.
I'm certain there's a restroom back there.
Okay, this is the guy with the keys. He's got the keys to the boiler room.
All right. How are you, sir?
Over here. We're going to the boiler room. It's still here. This is
Yeah,
where
so here's the
water-
control room. This is the control room where Ken brainstorms the circuitry of the mall, switches to turn on. This is one of my favorite rooms, actually. I wish we had done more in here. I love the gauges. I love all the binders with all the information about the mall. Yeah. That drawer has a little bit of petty cash, which is fun. Yeah, that's how I got sodas.
Ready?
Yeah, exactly. And then if you remember those scenes where they would turn things on, the fountain would start bubbling, you know, the music would go on. So if you remember this scene, this is one where we doused all the overhead lights and we just had rakes of light coming in from angles, and we had the zombie security person roaming through here. There's one there now. Oh, no! And this was Warner Shook's big scene.
Coming down this hallway.
Yep.
Oh no. Forget about it. I'm not going up there.
This is Tom Savini saying no fucking way.
Back then I could jump off a balcony, but not today. This is, I would get vertigo up there. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, this is a nice playground up here.
Hey, look at this.
The phony skylight that we built was over there, the way he breaks with the
Right.
glass, and where they would come out one at a time.
And that's
They
their
look like-
observation point
Yeah.
on the mall itself. They look through the skylight. So we built a prop one over there, which matched the one back at Fort Pitt Boulevard in Pittsburgh for the interior set. Galen, right, here she was. And Mike below, getting wads of blanks in his face. Mall customers wondering why was a lady shooting somebody on top of the roof, and no one seemed to care. And these are some of my beauty shots, actually shooting west, but with the skylights as background. But the helipad was right about here, and it was enormous. I think this roof surface has changed a little bit too. I think it was more of a stone surface with a neoprene below. I don't recall it being rolled roofing like this.
Yeah, this seems more solid because
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
little. It was a
We
little
didn't
spongy.
have the rolled roofing.
It was a little spongy because we'd be standing there,
Yeah.
and our knees
Yep.
would feel.
This is Ken Forain, his occupying time by playing tennis. This was the wall that Ken played against. And then I did a subsequent shot, if you remember, right outside the mall itself where the ball falls down. And the zombies were probably not tennis fans because they ignored the ball totally, as I remember. You're talking about this hatchway. We use this when the zombies are emerging at the very end, as they come up. If you remember, I think again, Clayton Hill was one of the first to actually find a point. Jay Stover. God bless Jay with the rifle. Yeah. He finally found the right way to aim the rifle. Right. Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
How much did Dawn cost?
Not as much.
$425,000, all of which was contributed by Dario Argento.
Oh, wow, that's all.
Nowhere near as much as they say it costs. Because at one point they were saying 750, then it was like $1 million.
$425, I guarantee you.
Wow, that's nothing.
Looks like a free lunch.
If you remember in the actual living facility, there were a number of what they called at the time civil defense food products, the water and
It was a hard candy and
yeah, I
bandages.
mean, in today's world, I guess they still offer these dried foods that you can buy to sustain yourself from the
Crackers, they had
apocalypse.
crackers.
When it came time to shoot Dawn, I I remember going out actually with Nick Mastandrea to various establishments, and at that point in time, we're talking the 70s, facilities that had these supplies were happy enough to give it to you.
Because they'd had them since the early 60s.
So
and by
we
that
would go.
point-
They have a 25-year shelf life.
Exactly. Yeah. So we went about and just gathered all this from
It
local
was
banks,
you and
schools.
me. No, we went to like the state office building. It was like you
That was one
and
of
me
them.
and Nick. We,
Yeah,
filled,
we also-
we filled a truck full.
So
of-
they really were civil defense supplies.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah.
didn't make the
Yeah.
logo.
No. You could crack them open. There'd be water in there and so forth.
And at the end, didn't you give it to some farmer?
We gave it to a pig farmer who fed his pigs all this material. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, and probably made moonshine in the water bins. Yeah.
We can go right here, this door.
Well,
I
what's
can hear
behind
that
us?
there's people out there.
Okay.
Not that room. Not that room.
Not that room, not that room! Let's go shop. Let's have breakfast. Can we have breakfast?
Right on the left.
What did we eat on Dawn of the Dead? What did we eat? Tom was describing the fact that there was cold cuts back in the break room that when you had a break, you could go and eat.
But not a lunch break.
No.
No, we had no lunch break because in the mall, I mean, we had to shoot, you know, we only so many hours. So it's like when people have a break, they can go back and get stuff. But George was always, you know, walking around. So Mike was always in the mall, and I was always by the camera in
And
case
Tom
decided to
could
shoot
never
something.
stop
And you couldn't stop
working
because you were always
doing
working.
makeup, so it was-
So that's why
That's why we don't remember.
Yeah. There was nothing there.
So we had to wait till breakfast at the mall.
There was plenty of coffee. There's always
No
coffee.
coffee, there's always coffee.
Ah. Who's driving home? Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. All right.
I think we should skip. Yeah. I think we should skip. La, 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 la. Oh, look! Games! Wow.
Let's go inside and get this.
We should all be doing that.